Yeah, so this week there was some investigative journalism by our good friend, not actually our good friend, I wish, Jason Schreier. He writes for Bloomberg. He was talking to some people within Sony and learned some pretty, I would say, alarming news, just in how they kind of view their gaming moving forward. Um, and it's kind of the complete opposite of every other every other studio in gaming right now. But Sony, they've killed it in the console wars, and yeah, they're doubling down on that.
Yeah, so it kind of the article by Jason kind of starts out. It's more about this group, Sony Corp's Visual Arts Service Group. They're a team that kind of comes in, helps finish off games, helps do polish, and we're doing really well. They're really kind of renowned group in the PlayStation portfolio in terms of just their ability to get work done. And a couple of years ago, it's reported that they wanted to create their own game, which that's cool. There's lots of teams that want to do that. And so they had kind of pitched some stuff around themselves, and they kind of decided it might be safer to just do a Last of Us remake. And
a remake?
Yeah.
A remake.
A remake for the PlayStation 5.
Okay, keep going.
Guess what Sony says?
I'm guessing they said no.
Nope.
So Sony says yes.
This is your first comical moment of the article.
Sony said yes, but no to the studio that wanted to do it.
So no, they said yes and yes to the studio.
They're gonna make Naughty Dog do it.
But let's see.
Nope, they're letting the studio do it.
The studio moved okay, sorry. I'm re-going. I didn't write down. I should have done some bullet points.
No, we like to wing it on this show.
Adds to the immersiveness.
So they began working on a remake for the PS5. The Sony never really acknowledged the team's existence or gave them funding or support, and eventually gave the Last of Us remake back to the creator, Naughty Dog.
I was kind of right.
You were kind of right.
You were kind of right, but I think
first try.
They had kind of been pulled off of that. I had thought I saw to
help with another game. Essentially, like the studio that the article kind of focuses on is just tired of being a support studio, and they want to make their own game. And Sony just keeps pushing them into places to be a support studio.
Okay, well, first of all, you want to make your own game, don't remake a game. That would be my thing.
Well, they couldn't get the support to make their own game, so they were like, "Well, we'll remake it."
So the whole underlying thing here, and why a lot of industry people and gamers are maybe a little frustrated with Sony right now, is that they don't feel like Sony executives are willing to take risks on new things. So this team that never really had the support team, who never got to become their own little development studio, they wanted to do something new, but they didn't feel like they could get that. Their first stepping stone was going to be do a remake, build some confidence there, then pitch their own thing.
Okay.
So they were handed this remake. They kind of got a quiet green light. They started working on it. Never really got the support. They had to be shifted over to help with, was it Last of Us 2?
Yeah.
I think it was Last of Us 2 that they had to then help finish Last of Us 2, and at that point, then Naughty Dog just got the Last of Us remake back. So there is still like a Last of Us remake that's coming.
Yeah, no, Sony has confirmed that.
They've confirmed it.
Interesting.
And like a lot of what came out of this too is that Brett kind of alluded to it. They're not willing to take risks on new IP. They would rather just continue to use what they already have.
Yeah.
I kind of disagree with that. I don't think they're afraid of new IP. I think it's more they just want to rely on the studios they know they can trust more so. Death Stranding was a total new thing. Ghost of Tsushima was a totally new thing. But that was Kojima, somebody they've worked with a lot.
Yeah.
That was Sucker Punch. Wasn't it
Yeah,
Sucker Punch?
and
Somebody they worked with a lot.
Sucker Punch did Ghosts.
Yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima.
So I think more the not taking big risks is probably not just letting them do what they wanted to do to try and branch out. And kind of, I don't know, they had to make those big risks, maybe not now, but they had to take those risks back in the day when probably those studios were small. When Naughty Dog was, doing Crash, and they said, hey, you're going to make the new Indiana Jones Tomb Raider game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
so
they're probably going to make another one of those probably here soon. And then they're like, hey, we want to make a cliche zombie game, but actually it's not a cliche zombie game.
So the bigger concern is that they're doing that. They're using those major studios to work on their new IPs and existing IPs, but they're closing doors on the smaller studios. They're taking funds and support from all their other groups to give it to just those 3 or 4 teams. And that's a lot of
I think I tried to avoid coming out with like a headline type thing, but I think the headline type thing that I would say is that Sony is investing so much in a few AAA games, like big blockbuster games, as their bread and butter, that they're leaving behind potentially cool new smaller IP games.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen Microsoft purchase, they're at like 18, 22, 24 studios now. And granted, some of them are big and they're working on big things. They're also working on a lot of small things. And I just feel like the mentalities are way different there. We're kind of at a point where we're opposite of where we were in the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 days, where what did Xbox have in those days? It was Gears and Halo. They had a couple big IPs that really led them through, and I think that PlayStation now is saying, okay, well, we've got Horizon, we've got Last of Us, God of War. They've got these really big IPs, but what people aren't seeing is where is the support for the smaller
studios,
indie games?
Yeah,
you have something like Deathloop, which is a Bethesda game.
That's Arcane.
Yeah. That is coming exclusively to PlayStation, but PlayStation didn't. I mean, they threw some money at it. It's not like it's a first party game,
right?
So
yeah, and like another example was Sony Bend Studios.
Yeah.
They tried to pitch a Days Gone 2. But because the critical reception was mixed, Sony was like, nah, you guys can go help Naughty Dog make their multiplayer game. Like, we're not giving you another one. And so a lot of people have left Bend.
I don't know. That kind of makes sense to me.
I
mean, if your game wasn't successful or
well, it made a butt ton of money. It just was critically not.
Yeah.
It was mixed.
I mean, movies do that all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, that was BVS.
Yeah. I just think the overall image, like the optics on that aren't great.
So what I'm hearing
is
Luke does not think Sony is in hot water.
I don't think they're in hot water.
I think people are probably making this a bigger deal than it needs to be, but it should still be a deal. It still should be talked about that studios should be allowed to have a creative freedom and do their own thing at least every once in a while, for crying out loud. If like the support studio that wanted to remake and then prove so they could do their own thing. Like, if they've been working with you for a while, let them branch off and try something.
Yeah.
There's no shame in that.
Yeah,
And
they've
then
earned their shot.
they make a banger video game, you've got another Naughty Dog studio.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another IP for your PS5. And the games for the PlayStation library are destroying Xboxes currently. Because, I mean, yeah, they have Game Pass and they have the show now, but they have Halo, which got delayed
Yeah.
over a year or whatever.
Still don't know how long that delay is.
Probably about a year.
Whereas Sony and PlayStation, they've already had the Demon Souls remake and they had Spider-Man Morales.
And Ratchet and Clank's coming out pretty soon.
Yeah.
Next month, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Like they're pumping out the big games, but you do have to say thanks for helping on this game. Now this is your time. It kind of feels like to me it's something with like what New Vegas probably was. Like they probably helped on all this other stuff, and they're like, we want to try something ourselves, and they made probably the best Fallout game.
I've not played New Vegas, but widely known as one of the best.
And then made a
ones,
better Fallout game that wasn't a Fallout game.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's this weird balance of, it's a business.
Yeah.
You do have to make money
for sure.
to make more games, but at the same time, you don't want to drive out your creatives by giving them things they don't want to do or not allowing them to, creatively shine. You don't want to burn them out by just, hey, here's something you didn't create, but we need you to finish it.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
And
there are support studios that do that, and they do that well.
And we're not going to give you credit for it.
Right. And...
that's the weird part to me, is that, like, they don't acknowledge this team. Like,
yeah.
They just don't exist.
It's a weird relationship they have.
Yeah.
But I think what I would be... I don't think it'll happen, because I think Sony's not... Well, maybe too big to fail. Too big to fail is not the right word or term.
It has a negative connotation.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I feel... Part of me feels bad whenever I finish an Assassin's Creed game or any Ubisoft game, and I see the list of 30 studios that worked on that game. And I'm like, surely they, is that all that they want to do? I don't know. And maybe they do other work too. I'm not an expert on... I don't go in and I say, oh, so-and-so studio from Quebec. What do they produce? So they could be working on multiple things and not just that. But it does seem like support studios are often just kind of given the shaft. And when you have a talented group and they want to do something, I think it is your responsibility as a business to, at some point, take a shot on them.
Yeah. And I think, the underlying tone of the article is that some of these like smaller studio heads are just kind of they're sensing some unrest in their seats. And I think that's the deal of the article, is that these people at Bend, these people at this studio who help support games, like they're just like, we don't really feel like we're a part of this.
Yeah.
Like Sony has netted Naughty Dog and Sucker Punch and Santa Monica, and those are the three big ones, and everybody else is just kind of here. Mm-hmm. Like even Death Stranding dude, Kojima is going to. The rumor is he's going to Xbox now.
Ooh, that'd be crazy.
It's just like they feel like they're not kind of reaching out to everyone, which I think is kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, there's a place for executives to say, hey, this is what we see in the financials that's working.
Yeah, it's their vision. Yeah, for sure.
But I guess I will always fight for creatives, and so I think that I mean, without knowing the intimate details, it's hard to be an actual...
We have like a top-down
judge here, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I just find it interesting that the differing approaches between Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony.
Yeah.
Like, they're very clear and distinct. Like, the lines are very clear.
Because I'd say Nintendo's probably another one that ultimately...
Let's make a Mario game!
Yeah.
But with tennis.
It doesn't feel like there's
tennis this time.
That much creative, out-branching there, and who knows how much of that is drawn in by an executive team, and how much of that is, oh well, no, like we would love to make another Mario's tennis game. I don't know, like right, like I don't know.
Mario Tennis Superstar All Star Battle Bash 4000.
Each one of these, each one of the the publishers here, or the Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, all have very different strategies.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So.
It's a good article though.
Yeah, it is.
Schreier did a great
Jason
job.
Schreier over on Bloomberg.
Yep.
Good
Which is
article.
a weird place to read video game news, but it is there.
Yep. Well, let's move over into the
What?
fan box. No, I lied.
There was still more Sony stuff
Oh,
with
okay.
Netflix. We never talked about it.
We didn't talk about that. That's
Oh.
true. Go back. More Sony things, real quick. Luke,
So
hit us with the news.
Sony and Netflix are best friends now. That's the news. They made a deal, pretty big deal. Sony movies are going to Netflix, and that includes all the Spider-Man movies. So, if you're gonna get on Disney Plus and watch all the MCU films, Spider-Man won't be there anymore. They'll be on Netflix. Also, I'm hoping that the James Bond movies are on Netflix. I own them all, but it's so easy to stream.
Yeah, I can't believe that Disney did not lock in a streaming deal with Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's
when
pretty
they
surprising.
redid that, and that may have just been one of those impassable things, but that is very surprising to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that is a big deal, and for a number of reasons. Second of which is that I think this is a very clear statement that we're not getting a Sony streaming service anytime soon.
That's what I was gonna say too. Yeah, they're just.
I think-
we'll just sell the movie to Netflix.
Yeah. We kind of asked ourselves this earlier, but Women in the Window, it was a Disney property.
Was it?
It was the Fox
Ooh.
movie. It was the
Okay.
last Fox movie that Disney had bought.
20th century.
Interesting.
It does seem like a 20th century.
Mhm.
That makes more sense to me.
Well, that definitely can't go on Disney Plus.
That's exactly what the article said. It's like, yeah, this wouldn't fit on Disney Plus.
And I feel like Hulu. People are just like, oh yeah, Hulu.
They probably realized they could get more money licensing it to Netflix than a splash that it would make on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, get ready for all those big Sony IPs to hit Netflix.
At some point.
Except
No,
for
yeah,
Last
I was gonna
of Us.
say this still isn't an HBO Max scenario where they're launching day and date, or probably even within like right at the end of the theatrical window. My guess is it'll
The
be
Pierce Brosnan Bond movies will be on Netflix for the month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That'd be cool.
some of
Go
them will
through
be on there longer
each
than
catalog
others, but
by actor. Fun.
And those Pierce Brosnan ones, though. There's one good one. It's one of the best ones, actually.
I actually I have a soft spot. Those are the ones that I first saw.
Here's
So
the Pierce Brosnan Bond movies are kind of hard to watch, but the action in them is really good.
Mhm.
Like, we've started to figure out special effects at this point, so they're just more watchable.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like World Is Not Enough and all those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not Christmas only came once a year.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, James Bond, you pervert.
Well, you're not wrong.
Oh, I'm definitely right.